Every big discovery starts with a closer look. This is Magnify Child Care, presented by Academic Explorers. Guided by our promise to put the child first, we're zooming in on what makes these early years so important. Sharing the stories that shape us, focusing on what matters most. Let's start exploring. Welcome to Magnify Child Care, a podcast for parents and providers. We are your hosts, Danielle, Rochelle, and Gaelle.
Hello.
No, we are not sisters, but we are a part of the best childcare management team, Academic Explorers. Academic Explorers is a company of childcare centers located in Long Island, New York. We are in 4 different neighborhoods: Roosevelt, Merrick, Unidale, and on the campus of SUNY Old Westbury. I will leave more information about Academic Explorers in the description below for those of you who are interested. Ladies, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Great. That's fantastic. So, in getting ready for today's episode, I figured that we should talk about a really important subject, which is different modalities of care. In the episode where you and I were discussing the true cost of childcare, I was explaining like the different market rates for daycare centers, school age programs, family daycares, group family daycares, and the other day, I happened to be doing some research into a possible expansion opportunity and looking at the number of home daycares in the area versus centers. And you know what I found out?
What? What did you find out?
I found out that in the school district of one of our centers, there's about 4 or 5 times the number of home daycares that exist versus other areas. So just our Unidale location. Mm-hmm. That center is in a school district where there's over 120 home daycare, group family daycare programs, not even including the family ones. Group family daycares are programs that can have up to 16 kids, and family daycares can have up to 8, I believe. So just for context, the next district over only has about 50. And
why is that?
I don't know. It's a lot. And most school
What's
districts.
The next district over? That would be my question.
I believe it's Roosevelt. I'll have to pull it up and I'll correct myself on the screen later. But I think Roosevelt district has about 50. Mm-hmm. Hempstead has around 60 or something like that. But for the areas that we were considering, like I happened to just be looking at random school districts to see, is this a lot or is it not a lot? And I believe like the Franklin Square School District, Valley Stream School Districts, there's 3 of them, a bunch of other districts in a different different area of Nassau County. Between 5 different districts, there's only 29 in total. But in this area, there's 128 in just one. It just seemed like an overwhelming amount of options of home-based programs. And that really got me thinking, like, right now, there's so many different neighborhoods within the whole state that are considered childcare deserts, meaning that there's not enough childcare for the amount of kids that live in the communities. Mm-hmm. And that's a big concern and complaint from both parents and providers, that there's just not enough. But over here, it feels like there's so much.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how and why. Like, what happened that there's this surge?
Every other house is a home-based daycare?
I guess so.
Do you think it might be because, Uniondale area, I could be wrong, consider like more like suburb, like more...
Then Valley Stream and Franklin Square and Flora. I do think that there's more people, like a higher population for sure. Yeah. But if you compare the population to the number of available seats of childcare, the percentage is way higher over here. Like it's more of and from a provider's perspective, it's way more competitive over in this area of Unidale, Roosevelt, Hempstead, it's way more competitive versus other school districts in certain areas. It's less options for parents, meaning less competitive because there's enough, there's way more kids that exist than available spots of childcare.
Do you think from a provider's perspective in that area, it could be maybe there wasn't like enough locations as far as OCFS policies to open up a center base, and might like having to make sure, like, I know correct me if I'm wrong, I know for a center you have to be a certain miles away from gas station or dry cleaning station, anything with fumes or that might cause like any environmental hazard. Do you think that might have a factor, or just even the whole process that it may be easier to do a home-based daycare than a center-based?
That was my question.
Yeah. It's definitely easier to open a home-based program. Like you need less qualifications. You only need a high school diploma as the on-site provider for a home-based program. And the owner of the program is usually the one providing the hands-on care that, they live in the house. It's for sure, it's less paperwork and it's definitely easier. But to go back to your question about like the are there appropriate buildings to use? I think that there are. And if there's not, it can be built. Like providers build centers every day. I just wonder why not over there, or in these areas where it is considered a desert, because it's not just those districts that I named. There's other areas of New York State that are considered childcare deserts. What is causing people to not be interested in opening more programs over there versus we're all clustering together right here? From a parent's perspective, we sometimes hear families that are saying to us, they're calling us to register, and they're saying that we always like to ask, how did you hear about us? Has your child ever been in daycare or preschool or a different program before? Like, we want to know if they're transitioning, if they're wanting to transfer, just the history about the parent. And many times they'll say, yeah, they were at a home daycare, but I think he's ready for preschool now. Mm-hmm. I think that there's some parents that make the choice of placing their baby in a home-based program, their baby infants and toddlers, and then transitioning once they turn 3 or 4 or 5 to a center-based program. And I'm just curious of your guys' thoughts on that. And definitely if you're watching and you're a parent that has made that choice of doing home daycare first, let me know, let us know in the comments below why you chose that route. But what do you think? Have you ever considered home daycare for your kids?
So actually, when I found that I was pregnant with my daughter, my children's father wanted a home-based daycare. He is from the islands, and they're more used to the smaller classrooms instead of the bigger classroom when the kids are younger. So, and I'm from Pennsylvania, where I was working at the YMCA, where it is the big classroom. Mm-hmm. So we kind of had some ins and outs about if we wanted to do it or not. I did tour a couple home-based daycares, and I always had the mindset that maybe because I was in the field that I want my children to be in the classroom with kids their age. Mm-hmm. And with the home-based daycare, my infant may be mixed with a 3-year-old. And I don't want now if our child is 3, now my 3-year-old is trying to do things that the 1-year-old is trying to do because they're in the same classroom. So that's why I was kind of leaning towards away from it. And then people also, like, even him, he had the mindset, well, home-based daycares are more loving. They're more nurturing because they're smaller. And I was the total opposite. Just because the settings are smaller doesn't mean you care more because they're smaller. Mm-hmm. So that's when I was leaning towards, like, no, I want a center-based daycare. And that's where I came upon Academic Explorers.
Right. And from an episode that we recorded earlier in this season, we were talking about cameras in classrooms. Mm-hmm. I would put money on the fact that there's no way I don't think that there's a large populations of home-based daycares that have live stream access or cameras at all.
You don't think they do?
No. Home-based because it's a home. Yeah. You live there. Would you want a camera in your living? A lot of home-based daycares, literally, it's their living room that they're running the program at. They might have a couch and a TV. You might walk around your house in your underwear.
I'm sure they turn it off, but there are some home-based daycares that do. They just
I'm sure there's some.
I'm sure they turn it off at some point.
If
they're utilizing the same space afterwards. Because I know some daycare, they have a certain level, and then a different level is their personal space, and they don't stay in that level. It could be that, but that's for sure that could be a bit weird if they're utilizing the space in the camera. It's still on live stream, and you just accidentally tap in, and then you see your kid's teacher on the couch chilling on the TV.
Yeah. I myself, I did. Yeah. When I had a home daycare, I did have, I think in the second year that we were open, going back to that conversation, we were discussing like protection and liability. Like I think I was hearing things in the news or just getting anxious. Yeah. So I decided to get a camera, and I did have a separate, like I my whole living room was just the daycare. It wasn't I didn't have a couch or a TV. I had a separate space. You didn't use it after? Yeah, I used my basement for the living room. So I did put a camera in there. It wasn't live stream. It was one of those Ring cameras, I think. Okay. Like I could see it. Yeah. Like a nanny cam.
Did it have volume? Not volume.
Sound. It did have sound.
Oh, you were able to listen?
Yes, I was.
Oh, you went straight for that. But
I didn't think I don't think the Ring cameras and stuff like that have an option of just video. Don't all Ring cameras have sound?
Well, if it's a Ring camera, yeah. But I know certain nanny cameras. No, actually, no. They all.
Because even before they hear the baby cry. Yeah. So that's what I did, but I don't think that is a popular thing. And home daycare providers, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you have a camera in your house, let us know. And I can understand maybe even on the outside, like because a lot of people are coming to your door and you want to see. I'm sure they might have some on the outside, but I wouldn't. I don't know about the inside. But yeah, I did have a home daycare before, and I did have a lot of infants and toddlers, but my home daycare was in Queens. And in Queens, just like all the boroughs of New York City, Pre-K for All, which is the city's version of UPK, Universal Pre-K, it's free Pre-K for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in New York City. That was widely available. I had my home daycare in St. Albans, which was in part of Jamaica, Queens, and it's Pre-K for All is everywhere. Yeah. So once kids turn 3, parents in the city know, okay, they're going to basically public school, or that's how they think of it. Before they turn 3, most people are using vouchers like ACS vouchers or paying privately for childcare programs. And of course, in the city where there's a much higher population there and much less space, there are a lot of home daycares. That kind of makes sense. But I was just shocked at the numbers in this neighborhood.
Yeah, that is a lot. That's almost triple the amount.
Yeah.
Anywhere else. Is Uniondale bigger?
I don't know. I guess I should have looked that up.
She's going to do her research later.
Yeah, I don't know. But parents here have a lot of options of home daycares. So what made you decide against home daycare and come to Academic Explorers instead?
So I didn't want, because again, with home daycares, you have all the kids together, and I didn't really want that. Like I wanted infants with infants, toddlers with toddlers, preschool with preschool. Yeah. So that's where I kind of like switched off of looking at the home daycares, and that's when I was looking for a center daycare.
That's actually a really good point. I think that all modalities of care are excellent. Parents should have a choice. There's different reasons for different things, but having kids of all ages mixed together, your infant that may be a newborn, 2 or 3 months old, being with a 4 or 5-year-old that's about to go to kindergarten, pretty much the whole day, but also in the afternoon, home daycare providers can take on school age kids that could be up to 5th or 6th graders, with right next to your newborn baby. Coming from all come from public school settings or elementary school settings, I should say, first spend the day there with those germs and then come into the house with the babies. So that is something to think about too that I didn't really register before.
Yeah, I didn't want my child to go, Because again, now my 3-year-old is going to be picking up things that maybe the 1-year-old is doing.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to progress and go backwards. I was like, no, let me try with a center-based daycare so they can be in a classroom with kids their age.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it is a benefit because now my 1-year-old might start picking up the vocabulary of the 3-year-old. But again, it can go backwards. It could be the other way around.
Yeah, that's actually true. I do think that there's benefits of having younger age groups with older ones so that they can learn faster or be inspired by the older kids. That does make sense. I remember being in situations at my home daycare where there was I had a newborn baby, like a 2-3 month old baby, and an older child. I believe he was 4, and he had behavioral issues. We had a behavioral therapist that would come in for him every so often, but he was a child that really, he needed a one-on-one. And we were in discussions with the parent about how this might not be the right environment for him because we don't have the ability as home daycare providers to afford a one-on-one. Even as center-based, like one-on-ones is just not a feasible thing unless it's supplied by the parent or whatever. But yeah, the child who had the behaviors that were concerning, he would try sometimes intentionally to hurt other kids, like out of his feelings, or there was just something that was going on within him that he would often just go up to a kid and push them down or something. And we often would have to like really try to separate him from the babies because it didn't matter. Everybody could get the hands. It didn't matter.
Don't come near me.
Right. So nothing triggered him?
Honestly, no. And I will never forget this day. I hate this story, but I think about it often because it was a lesson for me. Mm-hmm. But a new mom came to drop her baby off. It was a new family who had not enrolled with us before. That child who was there with us that day happened to be there early at the time that the mom was dropping off, and she was witnessing what the child was doing. It was just me in the moment because it was the morning. Not many people came. My assistants hadn't come in yet, and she's watching this child run around the room and take just flinging toys everywhere, pulling the bins out. He came in ready to mess everything up. So she was watching that happen. He's the other kid. There's 1 or 2 kids with him that are they're yelling at him to try to calm him down. But I'm talking to the parent, trying to get this new child and, paperwork. Yeah. Here's how you sign in. And meanwhile, it's like a bunch of kids running around in the back. So she hands the baby to me, and I can see in her eyes that she did not want to leave the baby there because she didn't feel comfortable. And meanwhile, at this time, I'm 20 years old, 21, 20. I was one of those 20 or 21. Yeah. She can see that I'm young. She can see that nobody else is there with me in the moment. Granted, it was early. I did have assistants. They just weren't there. Yeah. But she felt so uncomfortable that she left. And maybe 10 minutes later, she came back. And she literally told me, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable.
And took her baby back home?
And took her baby back. And thank God, because I was struggling that day with the child that needed extra help. I didn't know. When she left, I was like, I don't know how I'm about to do this.
Yeah. Did she ever re-enroll her child or no?
No. I wouldn't have, to be honest, I wouldn't have either that day. Because from what was going on in the background. It was just a moment of it just happens to be that I'm here by myself right now. Right. I was in Rochelle. It was literally 2 or 3 other kids with me. But it was the fact that I couldn't control what was going on with this one child, and it was causing chaos, and this was a brand new baby. I definitely understood her perspective, and I was grateful that she came to pick the baby up.
How does that work with ratio and home-based daycares?
So with home daycares, there's an on-site provider that's typically, so it's supposed to be the owner of the program and the person that lives in the house. Technically, it at least has to be a person that lives in the house. And then on-site providers can have assistants. Typically, most group family daycares, the ones that have 16, they can have, they typically have at least one other assistant, sometimes two as like a backup. But typically in most, it's two people. You can have one person to every two infants. And in home daycares, infants are considered children that are under 2 years old. So up to 2. Once they turn 2, then they're considered, I guess, preschool. They don't really have like a toddler's age. It's just, are you an infant or are you not an infant? Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like for payment wise, when it comes to the child care assistance program and DSS payments or ACS payments, they do categorize them by age group, like toddler, for the amount that they pay. But in terms of licensing, they really just care about, is the child are the kids under 2 or are they older than 2? Because if it's multiple kids under 2, the provider can be alone with 2 babies, and if they have an assistant with them, they can have 4 babies. So it's 2 babies to every 1 adult. Yeah. And then outside of that, it can be up to 12 kids that are not school age. And you can have an additional 4 children that are school age. So let's say it's 2 adults. They can have 4 babies under 2, 8 children that are 2 and up, 2 to 5. And then another 4 that are kindergarten to 6th grade.
Okay.
And if they have 3 adults, then they technically could have 6 babies under 2, 6 children between 2 and 5, and then the 4 school age.
So square footage doesn't matter in this situation?
Technically, I think legally, yes, it's supposed to matter. But when I had a home daycare, nobody ever measured my floors.
Well, we didn't hear that.
I don't know if that's even like something. You tell me. I know. I'm sure I'm not the only one, because when I moved, at one point I had to move home daycares. Like I moved from one house to another within the same neighborhood, and I had a different person come to do the initial inspection, and they didn't measure the floor either. Maybe that's just a Queensboro thing. I don't know, but no. I think that it's a general rule of thumb that every home daycare, if it's in a house, like a one family house, you're going to be licensed for the 16 kids. And if it's an apartment, typically apartments are really small homes, I would assume, those get licensed as family daycares where they can have only up to 8. Where in those situations, it's just one provider that could be alone with 2 babies, 4 kids between 2 and 5, and 2 school age. Yeah, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming, especially if you're brand new, like I was at the time. I started my home daycare at 12. I started my home daycare at 20 years old, before eventually moving on to Open Academic Explorers. So it can be a lot.
If you're looking for a smaller setting, home-based daycare might be the route you're looking towards.
Yeah, and if you're looking for like you said, different segments of kids by age group, your group of the same group of kids, because considering the numbers I just shared with one provider to basically 8 kids in our infant rooms and all center-based programs in New York, the regulation is 1 teacher to every 4 babies. So that is, and the maximum amount of infants that can be in one room is 8.
Yeah. I'm going to assume the regulations are totally different for home-based daycare.
Absolutely, yes. They have a separate set of regulations.
Not to say they might get away with more, but that is a whole different dynamic, because homes in general could come small. I literally sitting here trying to picture 8 kids in one room at different ages. And not saying that it's impossible, but like kudos to home-based daycare. It takes a lot to manage all those different age groups in the same setting. And if you're able to do that applause.
Yes.
It's definitely a skill in this field to do.
Actually, why don't you give them our AEA plus?
Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah, AEA plus are home-based daycares. You guys are doing it, but on many levels.
Yeah.
For infants, not to go into detail, but your infants and your preschoolers, I'm sure you have your staff that understands, this is my area for my infants, this is my area for my preschooler.
Yeah.
And in the same room, and time management, and not letting each distract each other. So if you're able to get by that and have a great home daycare, you get an A+.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it for this episode, ladies. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
And for those of you that are listening and watching, thank you for doing so. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Magnify Child Care. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every single time we post a new episode. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
On the next
episode, I am a music and movement teacher at Academic Explorers.
Is there any advice for anyone who doesn't know that becoming a music therapist is a thing?
What are some things that people don't know about music therapy?
Music therapy is not entertainment.